Lando Norris has truly done it, dear Motorsport-Magazin.com friends and Formula One fans. Lando Norris turned a pole position into a win. At the Dutch Grand Prix in Zandvoort, it worked out, but he didn't make life easy for himself. In fact, he was trembling once again, indeed. At the start, he immediately lost the lead to Max Verstappen. A lot of wheel spin, but also teammate Oscar Piastri had some trouble this time, and he is usually one of the best starters. So McLaren apparently didn't set everything up perfectly. So Norris lost the lead to Verstappen right away, but you could already see that even with the dirty air, the McLaren managed quite well and performed decently. Norris could stay close to Verstappen, and in lap 18 it finally happened. Norris passed Verstappen, and after that, the race was decided and concluded. Norris managed to pull away significantly, and at the finish line, it was a whopping 23 seconds lead of Norris over Verstappen. That was quite a significant blow that McLaren dealt to Red Bull here. Additionally, Norris set the fastest lap of the race in the final lap, and we must not forget, the tires had already done 43 laps on their shoulders by then. The two Mercedes drivers were on a two-stop strategy. They had fresh, soft tires at the end, and even they couldn't match Norris's time in that moment. So it was a dominance that we have only seen from Red Bull in recent Formula One history, really. Norris said that this time he remained calm after the start. He saw he lost the position but stayed calm because he knew he had a chance, though he wasn't sure about it, that the McLaren would be so superior, but he had a hunch that the material would allow him to turn the race around this time. Max Verstappen said he had the same problems all weekend, from the first practice to the race. The front and rear axles just wouldn't work together properly, as they should. The balance just wasn't right at all. They were not fast enough and also had a relatively high tire degradation. This happened even though they had messed up the setup a bit, which was quite unfortunate, and it led to a situation where they couldn't perform as expected, but they had actually worked towards reducing tire degradation. Verstappen had a larger rear wing than his teammate Sergio Perez because Red Bull expected higher degradation. This was a strategic decision. That tire degradation would be relatively high. Overall, in the entire field it wasn't that high, but they still couldn't benefit from it. This was a missed opportunity. On Verstappen's side, they still had higher tire degradation than their direct competition, like Lando Norris. This was a significant disadvantage. It's obviously unfortunate. The rear wing made him vulnerable, even to the overtaking maneuver by Lando Norris, although Norris also said, yes, we had a new rear wing here, a special high downforce rear wing, and it did help with the overtaking maneuver. This was a crucial factor. So once again, several factors came into play, as is often the case in Formula One. We already analyzed this quite thoroughly yesterday. Why the McLaren is so incredibly strong here, or was so incredibly strong, the contributing factors came together today, and then of course on the Red Bull side, the possibly incorrect setup with the rear wing and the issues they experienced throughout the entire weekend. In the Drivers' Championship, Verstappen and Norris are still separated by 70 points, which is quite a lot, and Lando Norris says, well, thinking about it, the championship, that would be really foolish. Is that downplaying? One could certainly say the championship is really turning quite dramatically. Max Verstappen says yes, it was quite alarming, but the last races were also already quite alarming. Still, there is no panic now. 70 points. That is a lot of wood, even though theoretically Lando Norris could still win the Drivers' Championship on his own, with sprints and additional points for fastest laps and so on. Still, you do need a bit of assistance from Red Bull and Verstappen. In the Constructors' Championship, however, it is now really tight. Only 30 points separate Red Bull at the top, despite Oscar Piastri not having his best day today, falling back at the start and then always being stuck in traffic. He couldn't show the true speed of the McLaren, couldn't pass as easily as his teammate, so that's why he only got 4th place today, which was disappointing for him. It was surprising not only this extreme McLaren dominance, but also the power balance between Ferrari and Mercedes behind them. At the start of the weekend, we talked about a 5-way battle at the front between the two Mercedes drivers, the two McLaren drivers, and Max Verstappen, with the Ferraris somewhere in the mix. Ferraris were up front, competing well, while Mercedes were lost in the middle of nowhere. Russell, with a fantastic start, said himself that after the first lap he still believed in a podium finish, but then it just went downhill from there. Maybe not the best strategy, they went for a 2-stop. Mercedes said, yes, but because our tire degradation was so high, we had to go for the 2 stops. Probably 1 stop would have been better, but the performance was still far from great. In the end, only 7th and 8th places for Russell and Hamilton. Hamilton was much more satisfied, but he started from far back after the messed up qualifying and his penalty, so he couldn't do much more. because they were 45 seconds behind the race winner Norris at the end, even though he had recently managed to win races on his own strength. They say it can't really be the car. It probably isn't just the track characteristics, not just the setup either, but something else. There is suspicion that something was added to the car that doesn't work right, and of course the floor comes to mind, which was reattached, causing issues. After the failed attempt in Spa, they tested back-to-back here and finally decided to use it, hoping for better results. Toto Wolff didn't want to say it too clearly, didn't want to blame just the floor, but I think it's strongly suspected. He was careful with his words, not wanting to point fingers directly. Ferrari, on the other hand, had a really good race. Completely different signs than last season. In one single lap, the issues in race trim, the car suddenly performs, and Ferrari turned a full 180 degrees. They executed the strategy really well with the undercut. Leclerc thus moved up to third place. He managed to climb up the ranks, securing a strong position. He even managed to defend against Oscar Piastri at the end, which I didn't expect. Ferrari didn't either, with Carlos Sainz moving up to 5th. This is promising for the upcoming races. Monza, Singapore, Baku, all these tracks should suit Ferrari well. The future races look bright for them. Fernando Alonso even sees Ferrari as favorites, and Ferrari announced the update we talked about coming in Monza. So we can be really excited. The anticipation is building up. Ferrari doesn't understand why they were suddenly so powerful in the race here. Maybe Christian Danner has the answer. I'm really curious. If you want to know from him, just go ahead and ask him directly. If you have any other questions, please write them down in the comments section below using the hashtag AskAVD, and with a little bit of luck, your question will be answered by our expert. For Haas, the race went quite okay overall. Nico Hülkenberg narrowly missed out on scoring a point at the end. He finished 11th using a risky strategy with very aggressive undercuts, as we've often seen from Haas. Additionally, he got help from Kevin Magnussen once again. Spectacular scenes unfolded as the Danish driver once again held everyone else up. Alexander Albon voiced his complaints, noting that it could become dangerous eventually. Nevertheless, everything turned out fine in the end. In the end, it still wasn't enough for a point for Nico Hülkenberg, but Haas has other more significant worries to deal with. At the start of the weekend, we reported that the bailiff and the police were already here, conducting an inventory at Haas because they owe Ural Kali, the former main sponsor, a lot of money. Haas said, okay, we will pay the money, we accept this. Allegedly, this happened on Friday, meaning the money was transferred. They confirmed the payment. However, the money has not yet arrived. Haas mentions it's because these things take time and it was the weekend. But they assure that the money has been transferred and will arrive. Importantly, until the money arrives, Haas cannot leave the Netherlands. They must wait. They are packing up normally like all other teams, but intend to keep the trucks here in the Netherlands for now. They plan to wait. The original departure time was Sunday evening. This will not happen for Haas. They must wait until the money arrives and then plan to leave for Monza on Monday. They are ready. We have back-to-back weekends, so the time is pressing. However, if everything goes well, Haas will still manage to make it on time. Nevertheless, this is an issue that we really shouldn't have to deal with. Gene Haas, the boss, has even come here himself. This really shows that the money will indeed flow. Otherwise, I don't think he would come all the way to the Netherlands. By the way, there was also some news to report after the race from the Mercedes team. Andrea Kimi Antonelli, he celebrated his 18th birthday today. He received a birthday gift from Mercedes. He will take part in the first free practice in Monza in the Silver Arrow. There are 2 rookie practices that each team must complete per season. In Monza, it will be time for that. Antonelli will participate in an official Formula 1 session for the first time. It was quite calm for him here. He didn't race in Formula 2 here. In Monza, he will face double duty. Even at the home race, it's something really special, but then Formula 2 is back in action, and then his first real Formula 1 race. He has already gained experience with TPC tests, a whole lot, but during a race weekend, it's a completely different story altogether. We talked a lot yesterday about what exactly will happen with Logan Sargent. James Vowles experienced a very stressful day today. He conversed with almost everyone in the paddock, discussing potential alternatives for Sargent. But Antonelli is probably not an alternative. Toto Wolff told us that today as well, confirming it. He says that for Antonelli, the planned program with Formula 2 and TPC tests at Mercedes is indeed better. And he will probably be prepared for his Mercedes debut in the Formula 1 season of 2025. That's all for now from Zandvoort. We'll catch up again next weekend in Monza. Until then, make sure to check out all the amazing content we have for you. You can read on our website about what is happening with Haas, and if everything is smooth, here on this channel, you can look forward to the AVD Motorsport-Magazin. And then we are not only excited about our great content, but also looking forward to the next race weekend already.